Number 10. Metallo. John Corbin was a critically injured man saved from death by a scientist named Emmett Vale in an experiment that turned him into a cyborg. The scientist was obsessed with the idea that Superman was leading an alien invasion, so when he happened across to John, dying from injuries sustained in a car crash, he takes him back to his lab and he puts his brain into a cyborg body powered by uranium. He then tasks him with killing Superman, and John becomes Metallo, named after the alloy his new form is made with. The uranium core is later replaced with a kryptonite heart to help him kill Superman. With the ability to shoot destructive kryptonite blasts, Metallo knows how to keep Superman busy. At one point, he sells his soul to a demon to upgrade his powers even further. He has incredible abilities granted by his cybernetic body, including enhanced senses and accelerated probability, allowing him to perform quick maths, rapidly processing to predict the most probable outcome of any given situation down to the second. This dude has got a serious hard drive. Hey Nerd Squad, if you like our videos and you want to see more, please take a second to hit that like button, really helps us out. Number 9. Parasite. First appearing in Firestorm Volume 2 in 1987, Parasite is a twisted, energy-sucking, vampire-like beast who feeds on energy to live. He absorbs the life force of mortals, leaving behind a withered, empty husk. Originally, his need to absorb was satiated with regular civilians, but up against a foe like Superman, his absorption also allows him to sap the powers and memories of his victims. This means he absorbs Superman's powers, but also becomes more deadly every time he goes up against the superhero. He also keeps the knowledge he absorbs during these encounters, meaning he is aware of Superman's secret identity. One interesting aspect of his power, he can only sustain a certain amount of superpowers at one time, or else previous powers will be disabled. This process causes him to go through body changes and power fluctuation. You know, like when you teach a new move to your Pokemon. If that wasn't enough, in his early origin, he had a wife and family he could never touch again, adding a tragic emotional element to this epic villain. Number 8. Bizarro. Alright, so one time the Joker possessed the fifth dimensional powers of Mr. Mxyzptlk, and he created his own insane version of Superman. I'm sure you've heard of him already. Bizarro is like a dark Superman, a shadow self or opposite version of the Man of Steel. The Man of Iron? No, it's already taken. He has mostly the same powers as Superman, except with Arctic vision instead of heat vision, and flame breath, and you get the idea. The original newspaper version of Bizarro included the iconic Bizarro speech patterns, with all Bizarro's comments meaning the opposite of what he says. Having nearly the same skills as Superman, he would be a pretty serious threat to Superman if it weren't for his inferior mind. The people of Bizarro World aren't the brightest. The Bizarro concept has spawned a lot of cool storylines for DC though. You're not a real DC superhero until you've got a Bizarro version of yourself running around. Funny story, Bizarro was once captured and tortured by General Zod, apparently only because he looks like Superman. Number 7. Mongul. Mongul first appeared in Adventures of Superman in 1989. He's an evil alien dictator, the tyrannical overlord of War World, an artificial satellite that travels the galaxy collecting slaves for gladiator-style combat tournaments. Superman is picked up and brought to War World, where he wins again and again until he's pitted up against Draga, the undisputed champion of War World. This place is crazy. It's like Rome mixed with WWE, and Superman is Stone Cold Steve Austin. After the Man of Steel defeats the champ, Mongul is not pleased and he teleports down to face off against Superman himself. He eventually knocks Superman unconscious, but rather than instantly killing him while he has the chance, he chains Superman up and prepares to execute Draga, the former champ. Superman breaks out of his bonds and fights back, but Mongul almost blasts Superman into oblivion with his ray blaster on his chest. Superman is saved, however, when a mysterious being named Cleric teleports him off to safety. Mongul nearly defeats Superman, and that lands him here at our number 8 spot. Number 6. General Zod. Like Bizarro, General Zod is a similarly dark reflection of the Man of Steel. Zod has appeared many times, hell-bent on the destruction of Earth to rebuild Krypton. As a fellow Kryptonian, he has mostly the same powers as Superman, making him an enormous threat to Superman and to the world. He has appeared infrequently since the Crisis on Infinite Earths, a mind-bending event rewriting much of DC's entire history. Zod cares very little about others, including his own race. Everything he does is part of some masterful, self-serving evil scheme. If Superman were to turn evil and attempt to dominate the Earth, General Zod gives us a pretty good idea of what that might look like. Number 5. Darkseid. Darkseid is a tyrannical ruler, dread lord of the nightmare world Apocalypse. He exists outside the normal universe, in a realm known as the Fourth World. He has been called the god of evil. His goal is no less than conquering all of creation and the entire multiverse. He seeks the anti-life equation, a power that will allow him to turn anyone into a mindless slave bound to him. He once kidnapped Supergirl, using black kryptonite to brainwash her into joining his all-women villain squad, the Female Furies, led by Granny Goodness, the cruel and evil lieutenant. Darkseid is one of the new gods from the Fourth World, who evolved in close proximity to a primeval energy along with superior technology and genetic stability. The people of this realm are immortal, stronger and faster than Homo sapiens, despite looking pretty much the same. Darkseid also wields an ability called the Omega Effect, allowing him to travel through time and space, as well as break barriers and force fields. His main power is his Omega Beam, energy blasts coming from his eyes that are capable of teleporting targets to another universe. He has complete control over his Omega Beams, and they can even change direction in the air. Number 4. Brainiac. Vril Dox, aka Brainiac, is an artificial intelligence created by the computer tyrants of Colu, a world where knowledge and logic reign supreme. Brainiac was designed to conquer alien worlds, but he quickly became more and more intelligent, eventually becoming a villain that does whatever it takes to acquire more knowledge. He once shrunk down the entire city of Kandor into a miniature for himself to study. He also created a remote scout, programmed to think it was the original Vril Dox. This scout came to the Earth and took over the body of a mentalist named Milton Fine, who worked under the alias Brainiac. Generally believed to be the most intelligent being in the DC universe, he possesses a 12th level intellect, making him even smarter than Lex Luthor. Interestingly, he was once defeated in the past through a sensory overload. Superman forced him into Earth's atmosphere, and he became overwhelmed by the germs and microbes of the Earth, as well as the wild sights and sounds of human society. Number 3. Doomsday. Doomsday was created on Krypton in the distant past, long before Kryptonians had dominance over the planet. In this early day, Krypton was a violent hellscape where only the strongest creatures survived. Doomsday was created by a scientist named Bertrand, who was trying to create the ultimate life form. His first experiments failed, and the test subjects dying on Krypton. Bertrand cultivated cells from the dead test subjects and infused them into the next one, repeating the process over 40 years. The life form possesses the genetic memory of its previous forms, and therefore is immune to being killed in any way that it has died in the past. Unfortunately, this also resulted in the ultimate survivor becoming a relentless killing machine. Eventually, Doomsday confronts his creator and destroys him, escaping from the wastelands of Krypton. He has sharp, protruding bone claws and a whole host of superpowers, including most notably the ability to adapt to any attack. Doomsday and Superman once had a lengthy, violent fight in Metropolis that ended with what was assumed to be the death of them both. Number 2. Lex Luthor. Lex is undoubtedly one of Superman's greatest foes. A brilliant scientist and billionaire philanthropist, he is powerful and creative. He despises the Man of Steel for his alien heritage and considers him a threat to all of humanity. Over the years, Lex has been around, once even becoming president. He even had a position on the Justice League in the past. There's a genius dynamic between Lex and Superman, with Superman being an alien and achieving things that humanity never thought possible, and on the flip side, Lex Luthor is like peak human success. He's brilliant and rich and successful, but too arrogant and self-interested to use his gifts to benefit humanity. He was once reborn inside an immortal, half-Martian, half-human body, and in this form was known as Apex Lex, and was immensely powerful. Apex Lex can travel across infinite realities. He is vulnerable and nigh omnipotent, wielding the 7 dark energies of the universe. This guy was dangerous enough before. Luthor's combination of hatred towards Superman and near limitless power potential land him here at our number 2 spot. And now, number 1. Batman. Batman is a bit of a problem for Superman. Not only does Batman always carry kryptonite on him, just in case, but Batman is also the kind of dude who just does what he wants and is pretty hard to argue with. Batman and Superman have gone head to head many times in the past. with different results, but it's worth noting that Batman has defeated nearly every iconic comic character within recent years. It has also been said that Batman could defeat anyone given enough prep time. Similar to Lex Luthor, Batman is also a billionaire who isn't too thrilled about an alien flying around and destroying buildings with his superpowers. Superman versus Batman. These guys are two sides of the same coin. They want the same thing, but have very different ways of achieving it. Batman and Superman are heroes, but if there's anyone that could likely take down the Man of Steel, it's Batman.
Starting off our list at number 10, we have the diabolical Parasite. That's right, for the first entry on a list about power, we've got the supervillain whose entire gimmick is sucking it up. Born under the name of Rudolph Rudy Jones, the Parasite was born after accidentally ingesting a toxic substance at LexCorp that was eventually revealed to be the byproduct of extracted kryptonite radiation. This gave Rudy an unstoppable hunger and the ability to grow stronger by absorbing the life energy and superpowers of anyone unfortunate enough to be his victim. The villain is impulsively drawn to those with the most power, and while he was initially more of a foil for the DC hero Firestorm, Superman's sun-based powers and incredible strength makes him the theoretical perfect feast for the Parasite. And judging by the amount of time that Superman has had to be saved at the last moment from Parasite to prevent himself from being completely sucked dry of his life energy, Parasite is definitely one of the more dangerous and hungry villains that Clark Kent should watch out for. Coming in at number 9, we have the one and only Bloodsport. Most well known for recently starring in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, Bloodsport was a young man who avoided his draft to Vietnam and fled to Canada, leaving his brother to die in his place. Driven mad by this unexpected turn of events, Bloodsport became an extremely talented mercenary who then became nearly unstoppable when he was gifted a device that allowed him to instantly summon any weapon he could imagine directly into his hands. Using this new gift, Bloodsport was nearly able to kill Superman by creating a gun that fired kryptonite bullets, a talent that leaves him pretty high up on the list of people considered dangerous by good old Supes. Speaking of deadly kryptonite-themed villains, at number 8 we've got the disturbingly gross monstrosity known as Kancer. But, you know, spelled with a K because kryptonite. Kancer's origin story begins when Superman is poisoned with modified kryptonite by General Zod, leading to the growth of a kryptonite tumor within his body. While Superman's life was able to be saved by the efforts of Dr. Emil Hamilton and the rest of the Superman family, the discarded tumor was stolen again by General Zod's forces and mutated into a full-sized, xenomorph-looking creature with a life-killing aura and abandonment issues over how its father, Superman, forgot about it. Kancer is capable of wounding and breaking the skin of any Kryptonian, as he's essentially kryptonite itself in the flesh. And if you're literally poisoned to your archenemy, I'd say that Superman had better watch out. Coming in at number 7, it's none other than Superman's twisted doppelganger, Bizarro. Now, honestly, when it comes directly to power levels, Bizarro should be a little bit higher on this list. When push comes to shove, as an imperfect duplication of Superman made by Lex Luthor's duplication ray, Bizarro has comparable strength to his nemesis, and has opposite versions of some of his more notable abilities. Freeze vision instead of heat vision, flame breath instead of freezing breath, and so on and so forth. However, Bizarro also feels a strong calling to be more than just a twisted version of Superman, and over the years has become more of an anti-hero than an outright villain, and seems content to try and carve out his own little slice of paradise on his new planet, Bizarro World. Taking up a controversial spot at number 6, we have the one and only Lex Luthor, Superman's arch-rival. Hating the idea of an alien having so much power and receiving so much love on planet Earth, Lex Luthor has been everything from a mad scientist to a ruthless businessman to even the President of the United States in his desperate quest, man, once and for all. He may be merely a human being, but with his dark intellect and lack of morals, Lex Luthor is more than capable of being noted as one of Superman's most powerful foes, whether he's inside a kryptonite-fueled suit of armor or merely using his giant evil brain. Coming in at number 5 with another example of Superman's own power set being twisted and used against him, we have Superboy Prime. A jaded version of Kal-El from an alternate universe known as Earth Prime, this Superboy was the only superpowered hero on his own world, with all other heroes merely being fictional. After this reality was wiped out during the Crisis on Infinite Earths, Superboy Prime became obsessed with recapturing his past glory as the one and only Man of Steel, and slowly twisted into a psychotic version of Kal-El, determined to wipe out every other Clark Kent. Few thoughts are scarier in the DC multiverse than a rogue Superman determined to cross dimensions to get exactly what he wants. At number 4, we've got to go with Mongul, an intergalactic conqueror from the stars. One of the few non-Kryptonians in Superman's rogues gallery that could still survive coming to actual blows with him, Mongul is the charismatic leader of War World, a mobile battle station of a planet that travels the universe looking for planets to, naturally, wage war against. Training for a time with the Sinestro Corps, Mongul is one of the most skilled combatants and tactical adversaries that Superman has ever faced. And while he may be less known than the other intergalactic conqueror known as Darkseid, Mongul and his extended warlord family are a persistent thorn in Superman's side. Coming in at number 3, it's the Superman killer himself, Doomsday. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is a list of Superman villains you wouldn't expect to be the most powerful, so how is the alien that's literally best known for killing Superman gonna count? Well, while Doomsday already does have an incredible reputation for killing Superman in the 90s, the character has only gotten more deadly, powerful, and unpredictable in the years since. Doomsday's most horrifying power is his ability to evolve and improve over any method that has defeated him in the past, an ability that has led to the creature becoming more and more intelligent with each encounter, and even exuding a toxin that's so powerful it was able to take out superpowered individuals like Wonder Woman. While Superman may have only died once to this Kryptonian monster, Doomsday is still biding his time for the rematch that'll finally let him get a second victory against the Man of Steel. At number 2, we've got yet another twisted version of Kal-El with the terrifying Ultraman. In the alternate universe of Earth 3, Superman's biological father was a far eviler man, and filled his infant son's spaceship with messages and monologues about his ideology and how Kal-El deserved to be the strongest possible being in the universe. Murdering his adoptive parents at the young age of only 7 after discovering that shards of his home planet, Kryptonite, made him stronger, this version of Superman instead took the name Ultraman, and wound up assassinating the President of the United States before forming the Crime Syndicate, a dark doppelganger of the main DC Universe's Justice League. While other evil versions of Superman have been held back by mutations or outside intervention, Ultraman is Superman at his peak, but with none of the morals and nothing holding him back, meaning that every time he crosses over into another universe, Superman needs to stay on his guard. At our top spot on this list is the character I've been looking forward to pronouncing this entire video. It's Mr. Mxyzptlk. Superman's main two weaknesses throughout all of comics are kryptonite and magic, and while Mxyzptlk might not have much of the former, his magic is beyond compare. A being from the 5th dimension who enjoys tormenting the most powerful hero of our more basic 3D existence, Mxyzptlk's dimensional abilities essentially make him omnipotent with magic, allowing him to alter the rules of logic, reality, and capable of teleporting wherever he pleases. The only way to defeat him is usually by some made-up rule of his own decree, such as getting him to spell his name backwards, a spell that can send him back to his own dimension for a guaranteed 90 days. Definitely one of the oddest villains Superman has ever faced, Mxyzptlk is honestly more of a nuisance than an outright bad guy, but his limitless powers make us very grateful that he seems more focused on trickery than outright world domination.
Number 10. J. Wilbur Wolfenham. He would call himself a business consultant or philanthropist, but make no mistake, he is a con man. Mr. Wolfenham first appeared in Superman 341 and was erased from existence following the collapse of the multiverse during the Crisis on Infinite Earth series. In his debut, he has a scheme to sell amulets which allegedly teleport the wearer to safety if a disaster strikes. Superman comes along and decides to put this product to the test. This all happens in a story called The Man Who Could Cancel Catastrophe. In another story called Sale of the Century, Wilbur thinks he's pulled off a master scam by selling the Earth off to an alien real estate agent until the alien actually comes back, and then of course Superman has to come straighten everything out. This guy is seriously a real piece of work, but we haven't seen him again since 1985. Number 9. Funny Face. We meet Funny Face in Superman 19 in 1942, making him possibly the oldest villain on this list. In his story, Case of the Funny Paper Crimes, he brings some villains to life from a comic strip, including Machine Gun Mike and the Black Raider. And he sends these guys out to rob the stores of Metropolis in a super dastardly evil scheme. Just go out there and rob everything, you guys. Superman takes them on one at a time, eventually figuring out what's going on and that they've come from the Funny Pages. While Superman is busy, Funny Face kidnaps Lois Lane and transforms her from a real person into a comic book character. Superman forms up a team with some other comic strip heroes that have been brought to life, and together they rescue Lois and take down the villains. This guy last appeared in 1986, and I seriously hope we see him again. He's crazy looking. Coming in at number 8, Microwave Man. Also known as Louis Paget, we meet this villain in Action Comics number 487 in 1978. A space traveler, he returned to Earth after 40 years of flying through the stars aboard an alien spacecraft. Before he began his journey, he was already the costumed villain Microwave Man. Upon returning to Earth, he calls on his alien friends to grant him his youth back, but it comes at a cost. His life will be shortened to just a few hours. He says, yeah, I'm good with that. He just wants the opportunity to defeat Superman. So Superman agrees and even allows Microwave Man to defeat him in a test of strength. Louis dies satisfied, and the aliens claim his body and they set him adrift in space. It's a touching story in which the villain is dispatched within 2 issues, meaning we will probably never see him again. It's nice though. Hey gang, before we hit number 9, I really need you guys to hit that like button. It's not required, I will continue with the list either way, but we do appreciate it. Coming in at number 7, Sand Superman. First appearing in Superman 233 in 1971, Sand Superman is exactly what he sounds like. Created from a portal between Earth and the Quorum dimension, Sand Superman just wants to drain Superman of all his power and knowledge. However, as it gains energy, he also gains the desire to act like Superman, including serving unselfishly as a superhero. Unfortunately, Superman can't really take him on as a sidekick or anything like that for 2 reasons. 1, Sand Superman only gains power by taking it away from Superman. And 2, if they were to actually touch each other ever, Sand Superman's alternatively charged atoms would just result in a huge explosion big enough to destroy the entire planet. Sand Superman's story was really not all that lengthy, so it's pretty easy to see why he hasn't returned. Oh man, number 6. Mr. Mxyzptlk. Jeez, is that an L in there? Anyway, the name is intended to be unpronounceable. We'll just call him Mxy. First appearing in Superman Volume 2 in 1987, Mxy is an imp from the 5th dimension who periodically visits and gives Superman a hard time. He first appears as a dashing young man by the name of Ben DeRoy and convinces Lois Lane to marry him. Superman eventually puts 2 and 2 together, and the imp agrees to go back home if Superman can get him to type, spell, or say his name backwards. Not Superman's name, but the other guy's crazy name. So, this evil, nefarious dude, he creates a giant typewriter and he makes up a name on the spot, choosing the name I mentioned earlier, figuring, oh, this is gonna be impossible for Superman. Superman defiantly says something along the lines of, you couldn't even type that name forwards. And so Mxy does it and demonstrates, not realizing Superman has already rewired the typewriter, causing Mxy to write his own name backwards, vanishing himself. He once even tried to do nice things, granting people's wishes, but not in the right way. For example, a woman wishes that her dough would finally rise, and it fills her entire home, pouring out onto the street. Another scene has a bunch of people wishing they had a Riverview apartment, so he makes their building sprout legs and literally walk over to the river. This villain did appear in 2008, but I think he still counts as forgotten. And honestly, he's too bizarre for me not to mention. Number 5, Black Rock. First appearing in Justice League America number 43 in 1990, Peter Silverstone was an American scientist, the Director of Research and Technology for the United Broadcasting Company. His task was to create a corporate-backed superhero that the UBC could provide exclusive coverage of. He creates a suit that gives the wearer power over broadcasting frequencies. The suit is powered by a mysterious sentient black stone. Silverstone manipulated his boss and his nephew into wearing the suit before he finally tries it on for himself. Sad to say though, after years and years of butting heads with Superman and losing, he becomes a washed up, failed villain who hangs out with guys like Kite Man. Eventually, he is driven mad by overuse of the Blackstone powers and winds up getting killed by Sam Benjamin, who then steals the stone and becomes the new Blackrock. Number 4, the Prankster. Oswald Loomis first appeared in 1988, the popular host of the Uncle Oswald Show, an early morning children's program. When ratings for his show plummeted and it was canceled, Oswald totally lost it and went on a pranking spree, terrorizing Metropolis. He once even held Lois Lane hostage and tried to marry her. Later in life, he sells his soul to Lord Satanus, and this changes him, making him young and athletic. He is a manic trickster who uses futuristic technology to create gadgets and weapons, all while retaining a comical theme. This guy doesn't come up as often as other practical joke-inspired villains such as Joker and the Riddler, so we haven't seen him for a bit. Number 3, Terra-Man. When DC Comics rebooted everything with the New 52 in 2011, this guy was recreated to better suit a modern audience. But in 1972, he first appeared in Superman 249 as Tobias Manning, a desperado cowboy sent into the future. When he was young, he encountered an alien during his first holdup, while his father was recovering from a gunshot wound. The alien decides to take the boy and raise him for himself, taking him off into space and teaching him how to handle futuristic weapons. The alien, known as the Collector, also gave Toby a winged horse named Nova, which became his steed. He calls himself Terra-Man and travels with the Collector, robbing and plundering all through space until his memories return, and one day he kills the Collector to avenge his father. He then travels to Earth, where he continues acting like a cowboy and performing nefarious evil deeds. He has some hilarious Western-themed gadgets, including an energy lasso and a chewing tobacco capable of aging Superman. Number 2, Dragoran. First appearing in 1971, Dragoran is the man from Transylvania. Transylvania is a miniature planet Superman visits with his friend Jimmy Olsen in Superman's Pal Jimmy Olsen, Volume 1. Man, wouldn't it be nice to be Superman's pal? He's literally just a vampire. We think the writers might have been phoning it in a bit on this one. Throughout the story, Superman and Jimmy encounter not only Dragoran, but a werewolf too. I really wish I had more to tell you about this guy, but there is a reason that he's a forgotten villain. And now, number 1, Zavam the Invincible. This dude appeared in Action Comics 351 in 1967. Zavam was created by the god of Olympus after they looked into the future and saw Superman, believing him to be a rival god. Zavam was built from clay and sent off to defeat the Man of Steel. Using godlike powers making him seemingly unstoppable, he becomes the leader of the United Crime Syndicate and humbles Superman. Superman is only able to finally defeat Zavam after collecting a magical belt from another group of gods led by Neptune. Zavam's name is an anagram in reference to the godlike powers he possesses, including Zeus, Hercules, Achilles, and others. He has not reappeared since his defeat, but it would be nice